Hey, what's up guys? It's the Nightwing Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another League of Legends video, here to talk about the LCS Spring Split 2020 Playoffs Round 1, which is going to be FlyQuest versus Evil Geniuses. Now, both of these teams coming into this year had two very different clear objectives. FlyQuest are the team that normally starts off really well when a lot of the other teams with better players don't. Then they are obviously easily synergized, but then when the teams with the better players start synergizing, then we see them start to falter. I thought that this split would have been different from them, but it actually wasn't. Now, they did almost trick me into believing that they had actually changed, but nevertheless, toward the very end of the split, FlyQuest started losing quite a bit of games. They ended the split 10-8. I mean, it's something that we got accustomed to seeing. FlyQuest would win one day and then lose the next. They would go 0-2. But they were at one point in second place in contention with Cloud9 as the second best team in North America. But then later on, you had the likes of TSM and even at one point Immortals challenging for that second place spot. Now, coming into this game, FlyQuest need to do a lot to actually beat Evil Geniuses. I think a lot of the FlyQuest fans think that this is going to be a rather even match between the teams. I think it actually is, but then you have to look at Evil Geniuses. So Evil Geniuses coming into this split after taking Echo Fox's place wanted to make a stamp on the league. Now, to be fair, they really didn't, and they actually looked really bad up until like week 7, I want to say. They looked pretty bad actually, but then they started actually winning a lot of games. In their last week, they lost to Cloud9, but they rebounded and won their very last game. And then in the tiebreaker game, they beat 100 Thieves, and then they actually secured second place. I don't really think they're the second place team, honestly. But the standings from at least the regular season are so jumbled that you really don't exactly know who's our second best team. But to be fair, they did clean up a lot of their mistakes that they were continuously doing. And facing off against FlyQuest, this should be a matchup where they should go in super confident, where they have stronger laners across the board at some positions, and some of their key positions could easily get them ahead super quickly. So this is going to be, I think, going the distance. I think this is the closest matchup right now for the playoffs so far. And then when I predict 100 Thieves versus Cloud9, that should be a lot more easier. But I think this matchup in particular, this is a matchup where you will actually probably most likely see 5 games based on how both teams want to play. Both of these teams do really well with comfort picks. I want to emphasize that because these teams normally get wins off their comfort picks. Evil Geniuses, when they pick the Lee Sin, the Rise, the Aatrox, the Jace, and when Bang's on Aphelios and when Zazel's on like Nautilus, they actually win a majority of their games. FlyQuest, same thing. Ignar, playmaking support, Power of Evil, Control Mage, Centauran, early aggressive jungler, and put the top lane on an island. You know, that's how they mostly get all their wins, from comfort. Now, in a best of 5, you will be tested with your comfort, where more or less so, I think the first game, both teams are willing to concede in draft about their comfort and let the teams respectively have their comfort. But then later on, when the best of 5 starts heating up and one team gets an advantage, one of the teams starts banning out comfort picks and it throws the other team on things they may not really be that good at. Now, going lane by lane, I think it's a toss-up in a lot of these positions, but I think that Evil Geniuses play a lot faster than FlyQuest, which is gonna most likely give them an edge going into at least the first 2 games. I think FlyQuest, if they win the first game, they might actually 3-0, but more or less so across the board, the top lane, it's Viper, Solo, and Kumo. Now, it's pretty much a toss-up to actually see which is going to be the most outstanding top laner in this series. I do think that Kumo actually is the better top laner between the two, because Viper has really only ever shown us something good on Riven this split. I mean, he's looked pretty average on every other top lane pick, and I know some people are going to say, well, he's left on an island and FlyQuest really don't give him resources. I mean, to be fair, that is true, but a lot of the other top laners in the league don't actually get resources. I mean, if you've actually watched the games throughout most of the split, mostly, I think pretty much outside of, I'm gonna say, Someday, most Well, and Broken Blade, most top laners don't really get jungle attention. I mean, you don't need stats to tell you that. You can just watch the game in general. But I think that if FlyQuest choose to run solo, they'll have a better chance at winning the series. But if they choose to run Viper at various points, maybe they might run Viper game 1, and if they lose, they're going to put in solo for games 2 and probably the rest of the series. But I do think Evil Geniuses have the edge in the top lane, not by a lot, and I could easily see them exploiting the top lane in order to actually win. Now, looking at the jungle, you have Santorin versus Svenskeren, the EU junglers going at it. Now, I think Svenskeren still outclasses Santorin. Santorin, in my opinion, has been pretty much the same jungler all of his career, outside of maybe a couple splits where it looks a little bit different. I think that he normally just doesn't gank that much. He passes really well, and he'll place down vision correctly, which goes kind of underrated, but I think that when you look at what Santorin provides, that's also a really good thing to help his laners aggressively skirmish and or take objectives. Now, looking at Svenskeren, Svenskeren wants to play more towards the lanes. Svenskeren's going to be more or less so in mid and bot lane getting advantages because he doesn't really actually gank too much for bot, but if he can just lend them a little bit of hands, then they'll be okay. But mostly, Svenskeren is going to be working on with Jizuke because Jizuke is their best player and he's going to actually get them the leads. So for the jungle position, I would have to give that to both of them. Both of them know how to really effectively get their teams to where they actually need to go. So, Power of Evil versus Jizuke, two other solid MVP candidates if you actually could make the argument for them. Power of Evil has really changed FlyQuest, and Jizuke has really started to step up and become a really good mid laner. Both of them offer incredibly great things for their teams. Power of Evil is really good at pushing his advantage and shoving his laner in, recalling, and then gaining another advantage with his jungler. Jizuke is really good at working with Svenskeren and actually roaming, and he's actually really good at side lanes. I think Jizuke is better at side laning than Power of Evil, which is gonna definitely give Jizuke the edge, and I think that in lane, they're both pretty much even. This is an even matchup across the board. That's why I said some of these playoff matches between LEC and LCS, they're pretty even if you really, really break it down. But if you wanted to say who's better, both of them, it is a complete toss-up in the mid lane. Then you have the bot lane, Wild Turtle and Ignar versus Bang and Zeyzal, also pretty even if you really look at it. Now, I will give the edge to FlyQuest's bot lane because I think Ignar is a lot better than Zeyzal, and if you look at the AD carry position with Bang and Wild Turtle gets left on an island pretty much while Ignar gets to roam. Most of Ignar's effective roams really do get FlyQuest ahead, and if Zeyzal is going to have to play babysitter to Bang because we know Bang likes to have his support around him, then that's going to be a toss-up in certain games because if you leave Wild Turtle alone and Ignar does a effective roam to get Power of Evil or Solo or Viper ahead, then that's good and that could actually win him a game. But then let's flip it and go to games 2 and 3. What if leaving Wild Turtle and he gets dove and then Evil Geniuses start to get ahead? So pretty much between this series, it's between comfort, roaming, and whichever of the toss-up solo laners can actually play really well. FlyQuest has this history of not being clutch. Evil Geniuses, well, we haven't really seen these guys, well, this org since 2014, and this is a completely new team from way back then. So looking at both of these squads, I think FlyQuest with their, I don't know, it's really hard to say who has the more veteran experience in best of fives. I mean, since Scaren's been to, a lot of best of fives, Jizuke also the same way. I mean, all these players from both squads have had really high highs and low lows, so they know how to actually play best of fives. And it's actually a toss-up. I know FlyQuest have not looked that good recently, but Evil Geniuses also looked bad at one point during the split too. So if you want to compare them both, it's really even across the board. But I do have to end up choosing a winner. I actually think that the more consistent team will actually win. I'm going to say FlyQuest win 3-2 because I think they're going to be more consistent in a best of 5, and what they have actually been showing will work more in a best of 5 than what I've seen Evil Geniuses work with. I think Evil Geniuses is more of a glass cannon, and then if you stop that glass from actually shooting off, it's going to actually not work. But yeah, I predict FlyQuest to win 3-2. I think this series is going the distance because they do have a lot of even matchups across the board. And I'm taking a risk on FlyQuest, and they've made top 4 in other splits as well, so them making top 4 wouldn't actually be, that big of a surprise to me personally. And if FlyQuest knock out Evil Geniuses, they will put, Evil Geniuses in the losers bracket to face, I think they would actually face Golden Guardians, if I'm not too mistaken. So yeah, that's it. I think FlyQuest will take it. I think Power View and Ignar will be the determining factors. I think the Svenskeren or Jizuke are going to be the big factors to the reason why if Evil Geniuses does win. But yes, going with FlyQuest, hashtag TreeQuest in effect. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe, most of all enjoy. I'm the Nightwing, and Way of Life Esports is signing out. Oh, and G2 lost today. That sucks. Sucks real bad. But it's okay. That's why we have a losers bracket. They better not lose in that losers bracket, or I'll actually riot. Pun intended. Peace out, guys.
Hi there, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.